Early this morning, one of the top leaders of MS-13 was apprehended. He was the leader for the East Coast, one of the top 3 in the entire country. Right here in Virginia, living half an hour outside of Washington, D.C. He is an illegal alien from El Salvador, and he will not be living in our country much longer.
This is what happens when you have competent federal leadership at the top, working with state and local law enforcement on the ground to put bad guys in jail.
And thanks to the brave leadership of this administration and the folks that you see here, we are returning our communities to safety. As you heard, we took down this morning a top leader of MS-13.
Now, let's go to a report from CBS into What is happening in Boston? Tom Homan, the Trump administration's border czar, accused authorities in Boston of releasing illegal immigrants charged with violent crimes, releasing them back into the community. And it turns out that CBS found plenty of examples of this. We've got just a few to mention here. We had a Guatemalan charged with 3 counts of aggravated child rape, released on $7,500 bail, Josh. Another man charged with aggravated child rape. The victim's age was 9 or below. Again, $7,500 bail. Others released with 0 bail, including a Honduran charged with assault, robbery, released on his own reconnaissance with 0 bail. So many other examples there. Someone charged with fentanyl trafficking, released on a $4,000 bond before ICE could even arrive. How many other cases are like this across the country where authorities are frustrating what ICE is trying to do, what the Trump administration is attempting to do, and releasing these dangerous people back into the community on small bond or no bond to continue with their criminality?
So first of all, let me point out that this is in Massachusetts, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. You mentioned a fentanyl trafficker. This actually hits home on a very personal note. My cousin, may his memory be a blessing, actually overdosed and died from fentanyl in Massachusetts about 7 years ago. So this story actually hits pretty home for me, actually, that Massachusetts authorities are letting free actually the kind of people, in this case, the kind of illegal aliens, the likes of which tragically resulted in my cousin's overdeath 7 years ago there. So this is just horrific stuff. Massachusetts is a Democrat-governed state. It's been a Democrat state for longer than I've been alive. I fear, Rita, that this is actually pretty common throughout the United States, especially in these far-left jurisdictions, places like Massachusetts and California. I mean, Gavin Newsom's kind of sort of changing his tune a little bit there. No one should believe a darn thing the guy says, but you're still going to have some very far-left holdouts like the city of Boston, like the city of Chicago, Illinois there. Fundamentally, as a matter of constitutional law, it is the United States federal government that has the duty to enforce the federal immigration laws. And the state governments are not allowed to undermine the enforcement of those immigration laws there. Now, they cannot necessarily be forced to do so, but you could actually offer some very clever carrot and stick. So, for instance, the Department of Justice under Pam Bondi can basically condition all federal funding of local police departments, because the federal government does subsidize a lot of local police departments. You can say, we're only going to give you that funding on the condition that you actively assist us with federal immigration enforcement. That's the kind of clever policymaking that I would like to see a little bit more of, to try and put these so-called sanctuary jurisdictions back in their place.
Josh Hammer, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Rita.